Welcome back to Beacon English Podcast.
Great to be here.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've been looking at a really interesting piece of material today. It's like a guide, very structured, almost paint by numbers, you could say. And it's designed for beginner English learners. The main goal seems to be, well, not just teaching words, but actually getting people talking quickly about their daily routine.
That's absolutely right. What we're looking at here, it isn't your typical textbook. It's more like a carefully built sequence for conversation, language learning step by step.
Scaffolding, right?
Exactly, scaffolding. The material cleverly avoids really complicated grammar stuff that can just, overwhelm beginners.
Yeah, that cognitive quicksand idea.
Precisely. Instead, it focuses completely on getting them to have fast, practical conversations, dialogue they can actually use. The aim is for you, the learner, to sort of internalize this script about your own life, make it automatic.
So our mission today is to really dig into this blueprint. We want to pull out the best bits, the language structures, the teaching ideas that you can just copy and use. We want to understand how it's built, the structure that lets a complete beginner talk about their whole day in English confidently. For you listening, this is like a shortcut to understanding how that early fluency works.
And it's smart because it picks such a universal topic, doesn't it? Your daily routine. It's not trying to tackle, say, a tricky situation at an airport or something high pressure.
Right.
It's just the simple flow of morning, afternoon, evening, this kind of low stakes talk, moving step by step through the day. It's probably the easiest way in. It builds that muscle memory for speaking.
Yeah, if you can talk about yourself simply and clearly, that must build a lot of confidence for other situations later on.
Definitely.
And right from the start, the big thing that jumps out is this focus on rhythm and simplicity, structure.
Yes.
This teaching approach, it seems to understand that, trying to teach perfect grammar on day one just doesn't work.
It's counterproductive, yeah.
So instead, it's aiming for confidence. Short, clear sentences, declarative ones. It creates this kind of linguistic tempo, almost feels like music.
Right.
Encouraging flow instead of getting stuck on mistakes.
And that musicality, that rhythm, it comes from repeating things and having a consistent structure. If you look at how it's built, almost every basic sentence is simple present tense. Subject, verb, object.
Like I wake up.
I wake up, I eat breakfast, yeah.
Yeah.
That specific choice is really important because it cuts down the thinking time, the cognitive load.
Right.
So you, the learner, can focus your energy on just pronunciation and linking the steps together, not constantly worrying about, verb endings or complicated sentence structures.
Okay, let's dive right into the start of the day then, where the confidence really begins to build. The morning anchor, let's call it.
Good name for it.
This seems foundational. The material breaks the morning into these 6 essential steps in order.
Sure.
Why is that sequence so important here?
It's really a memory trick, a bit like building a mental map or a memory palace. These 6 key phrases, they have to be learned together as one single block in sequence, not just 6 random words.
Okay.
The brain just finds it much easier to remember a story, a sequence, than a disconnected list. So once you start with, I wake up, the next 5 steps are kind of primed. They're ready to follow logically. I get up and make my bed. Then I brush my teeth, I take a shower, I get dressed, and the last one, I eat breakfast.
That's powerful because by learning them like that, in order you immediately get this ability, you can actually recite your whole morning in one go, confidently.
Yeah.
You don't just know isolated words. You've got a 30-second conversation piece that makes you feel competent right away. That's huge for a beginner.
It really is a massive confidence boost. And this confidence, it gets stronger because the material tackles these tiny but really important details straight away, like the difference between I wake up and I get up.
Ah, yes. That one trips up so many people.
It does.
And including that little mini quiz detail they have, that feels like strategic genius. It makes the difference crystal clear. Physical versus mental state.
Exactly. Wake up is about opening your eyes, becoming aware. Get up is the physical action, actually leaving the bed.
Why is mastering that small difference so helpful? Why does it give such a sense of, getting it right?
Because it shifts you. You go from just repeating phrases to actually using the language, expressing these subtle real-life differences.
Okay.
If you, as a beginner, can correctly use phrasal verbs like these and tell the difference between 2 very similar actions, well, you instantly feel more capable.
Right.
It tells your own brain and anyone listening that you're engaging with the language's logic, not just memorizing words. That clarity, it's the foundation for everything else.
So you've got the basic sequence, you've clarified that tricky bit, then the blueprint immediately adds 2 more layers for precision, making it sound like a real story. The first layer is time.
Time. Yes, it anchors everything, doesn't it? Just saying, I eat breakfast is okay, it's functional, but it feels incomplete.
A bit floaty.
Yeah. But saying, I eat breakfast at 8:30, that gives the context. It places the routine in the real world. And notice the time expressions are kept simple too, at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
No complex stuff.
Right. Keeps it manageable.
It just gives the whole sequence that necessary factual grounding.
And the second layer, and I think this one might be even more powerful for making you sound fluent and making it personal, is introducing adverbs of frequency right away.
Oh yeah, this is a really smart move for beginner material, bringing in always, usually, sometimes, and never lets you personalize your routine sentences immediately, and with hardly any extra grammar effort.
So you take the basic phrase, I brush my teeth, and just pop in one word, and suddenly it's, I always brush my teeth.
Exactly. Think about how efficient that is linguistically. One simple adverb changes a basic fact into a personal habit, or an expectation, or something you don't do.
And it costs you almost nothing in terms of complex structure. You just need to remember where it usually goes, right, before the main verb.
That's it. But the payoff in how sophisticated your conversation sounds is huge.
It really is. It shows you can talk about variations in your routine. You can say, I usually eat breakfast. Or like the example they give, I never skip coffee.
Right. Those little additions immediately signal that you can express nuance. You're talking about yourself in a more detailed way. It makes the dialogue feel much more natural, less like reading from a script.
Less robotic.
Definitely less robotic.
The material also had that nice little detour about breakfast itself, didn't it? Mentioning oatmeal, toast, eggs. That wasn't just random filler, was it?
No, not at all. It reinforces that whole teaching idea. Even inside this simple structure, you need to be able to swap in your own details. Your favorite food, how you get to work, that's what makes it real. Relatable.
Right.
That little anecdote about breakfast, it's a model. It shows you how natural conversation works with these little details. And it encourages what we could call low-stakes substitution.
Low-stakes substitution.
Yeah. You're encouraged to swap toast for cereal or coffee for tea. It's easy. When the words you're saying actually match your real life, like, coffee is my best friend.
Yes.
Then the English sticks better. It reinforces itself. It becomes much more memorable. Your own life becomes the actual script you're learning.
Okay, let's move into the next part then, segment 2. Transitioning through the day. We're past the morning rush, moving into the middle part, work or study, and then winding down in the evening. The challenge here must be structuring that big middle chunk of the day, which can be quite repetitive for some people.
Yeah, and the blueprint handles this pretty neatly by setting up clear time blocks, focusing on the transitions. The key phrases here are things like, I go to work at 9, then I work until 5, and that essential break, I have lunch at 1.
Right, those anchor the main block.
Exactly. They structure that big middle section efficiently. You're establishing the start, the end, and the necessary break.
And I like that they included an optional activity, too. I take a short walk after lunch. Why put in a small detail like that? Something that's not essential.
But that detail is actually a really important model for natural speech. Real routines aren't just rigid schedules, are they?
No, true.
Introducing a small, optional moment of relaxation, the short walk, it shows that routines have texture, little breaks. It gives you, the learner, a phrase you can use to talk about your own habits, maybe how you unwind for a few minutes. It makes the conversation instantly richer.
That makes sense. It adds a human touch. Now, what I found really valuable in this middle section, maybe even more than the list of activities, was the way it handled contrast. It explicitly gives alternative options.
Absolutely. This is vital for being prepared linguistically.
Yeah.
The material gets that not everyone has the same kind of day anymore, so it prepares you for different real-life situations by offering the contrast right there.
So instead of just learning, I go to work, you're also ready with the alternative, I go to work, versus I work from home.
Precisely. And the same for students. I go to school versus I study online. The benefit here is realizing that routines are flexible.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you only know the first option, I go to work, and your conversation partner says, oh, I work from home, you might freeze up. You might think it's totally new vocabulary.
Right. You wouldn't recognize the pattern.
But by giving you the contrast up front, the material makes sure you can describe your situation and understand your partner's reality too.
That readiness for difference feels so important. It reflects the modern world, where remote work or online study is common. Having both options ready just makes you so much more flexible in a conversation, prevents those awkward silences.
Exactly. Fewer conversational bottlenecks. So once the main part of the day is structured, we move smoothly into the evening. The wind down, it's kind of the opposite of the morning rush, isn't it? A shift into calmer activities, often things that take longer.
Yeah, the phrases themselves sound more relaxed. I come home in the evening, I watch TV or read a book, I go to bed at 11.
Mhm. And that phrase, I watch TV or read a book, that's quite significant too.
How so?
Well, it models combining activities using or. It gives you flexibility without making the sentence structure complicated. It suggests you have options for how you relax.
Okay, yeah. You don't need two separate sentences. It covers both possibilities simply.
Exactly. And speaking of simplicity, the material offers this brilliant little summary tool, the 4-part rhythm drill.
Ah, yes, the rhythm drill. I work, I rest, I eat, I sleep. So simple. How does something that basic actually help a beginner?
It works like the ultimate mental anchor, a kind of stress relief summary. It boils the whole day down to its absolute core elements. 4 simple beats you can easily remember.
Right.
So if you're feeling tired or maybe a bit stressed in a conversation or someone just asked you for a quick summary of your day, you can fall back on this 4-beat rhythm. It communicates the basic flow quickly and very memorably. It's like having a safety net.
Structural resilience, you called it earlier.
That's it. And it also reinforces that idea we talked about, English feeling like music at this stage. When you find that rhythm, that cadence, you're less likely to pause and search for words. The flow itself kind of carries you along.
And when you get that cadence going, that internal rhythm, you start bypassing that step where you translate everything in your head.
Exactly. The sentences start coming out as English thoughts, English units, not word-by-word translations, and that really is the beginning of fluency.
Okay, let's shift gears now into segment 3. This is where we see how these phrases actually work in a real conversation, the applied dialogue blueprint. Moving from just listing actions to having a proper back and forth, the architecture of interaction.
Yes, and looking at the example conversation they provide, hi, Paul, how was your day? It reveals this really well-structured 3-phase model for a conversation. This model, I think, is maybe the most valuable thing for you listening today, because it's a ready-made structure you can use in almost any initial chat.
Okay, 3 phases. Phase 1 is the anchor question. How was your day? Simple, but crucial, you're saying.
Absolutely crucial. It's the starting gun. It demands a story, a narrative response. Why is it better than just say hello or how are you?
Yeah, update.
Because it's specifically about time, the day that just passed. It implicitly asks for a summary of what you did.
Yeah.
How are you? Often just gets a short answer like fine.
Right, a closed answer.
Yeah, but how was your day pushes you to use those past tense structures you might be practicing, and it makes you use your routine vocabulary. It forces a productive summary, a story.
Which leads straight into phase 2, the productive summary. So the person asks the anchor question, and the responder needs to list, 3 or 4 key things they did?
Yeah.
Using that routine vocab, like I woke up early, went for a jog, worked all day, and cooked dinner.
Exactly. That's the core of the exchange, the conversational payload, and why 3 or 4 activities, it seems to be the sweet spot rhetorically. Listing just one thing sounds a bit short, maybe unfriendly. Listing like 6 or 7 things can sound like you're bragging or just lecturing someone.
Yeah, reading your diary out loud.
Right. But 3 or 4 activities shows you can keep the conversation going. It gives your partner enough detail to respond to, and it proves the interaction has a purpose.
Got it. And phase 3 then closes the loop, relatability and reaction. The person who asked the question responds with something simple and positive like, wow, sounds productive, or, oh, that sounds delicious.
Yes. This reaction is so important for basic conversational politeness, what linguists sometimes call back-channeling.
Back-channeling.
Okay, it shows you were listening, processing, and you're engaged. And for you, the learner, getting that positive feedback is a huge reward. It encourages you to keep talking. It teaches you that conversation isn't just sending information back and forth. It's an emotional connection too, a social thing.
So if we boil this down into that copy-ready model you mentioned, the one our listener can use right away, the blueprint is start with the anchor question, how was your day? That prompts the response, it was good, I did activity 1, activity 2, and activity 3. That simple framework seems like gold for reducing that, what do I say, anxiety.
Pure gold. Absolutely. And this framework ties back perfectly to that personalization idea we discussed.
Right.
The teaching strategy is basically saying your own life is the classroom. Talking about real things that just happened, what you did an hour ago, makes the English feel natural because the memory is fresh.
Yeah, the event is already there in your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're just finding the English label for something you already remember clearly. This template just makes accessing that label much faster.
Okay, let's move into segment 4. Because just having the phrases isn't quite enough, is it?
Yeah.
You need to know how to deliver them well and how to fix things if they go wrong. Mastering fluency mechanics and sixes. The material doesn't just list words, it suggests how to practice them effectively, specifically mentioning shadowing.
Yes, that shadowing demo they mention is key. Shadowing, where you repeat what you hear almost immediately or right after the speaker, is incredibly powerful for nailing pronunciation and rhythm. It's scientifically shown to work.
How does it work? Why is it so effective?
It kind of forces you to bypass your internal translator. Instead of hearing English, thinking of the meaning in your language, then thinking how to say it,
Right.
you're just focused entirely on the sound.
Ah, okay. It's like engaging the sound system in your brain directly, focusing on the audio, not the meaning so much.
Precisely. And that instruction they give the learner, sound happy and alive. That's fascinating, isn't it? Why tell them to focus on emotion, not just getting the words perfect?
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Because fluency is tied up with emotion
Yeah.
and how quickly you can retrieve words. If you connect the feeling of a confident, happy routine to the actual words, you'll recall those words faster when you need them in a real conversation. It moves the language out of just like cold storage in your brain
Right.
and into a more active, ready-to-use space, almost like muscle memory. The sound, the rhythm, the feeling, they all become one package, not just separate words.
So if you can practice reciting that list, I wake up at 7, I go to work, I go to bed at 10, with the right rhythm and maybe a bit of positive feeling, you're actually linking the language to an emotion, which helps you remember and use it faster later.
Exactly. That's the goal. Faster retrieval in real-time conversation, which is what fluency feels like.
Okay, and the material also includes that mini quiz section.
Yeah.
Seems designed to catch common mistakes, right? Like a quality check for these new structures.
Yeah, it stops you from practicing mistakes until they become habits. It reinforces critical grammar points.
What were the main things they were fixing with that quiz? Small things, but important ones.
Well, the first big one was about prepositions, specifically the need to use to in I go to bed.
Yes, not I go.
Right. Beginners often drop prepositions to simplify things. I go work, I go school. But the material forces that correction early on with go to bed. It sets a better foundation, especially for verbs about direction.
That one little word, to, doing a lot of work there. And the second fix.
That was about getting adverbs in the right place, making sure you know exactly where to put always or usually in the sentence, so it sounds natural in English.
Right. It needs to be, I usually eat breakfast, not.
Not, I eat usually breakfast. Exactly. English word order for these adverbs is pretty fixed, usually before the main verb, but after the verb to be. Getting that right is another small win that makes your sentences sound much less awkward to a native speaker. These little fixes make sure the simple sentences are not just understandable, but actually correct.
Okay, now here's something crucial. The blueprint focuses a lot on output, what you say. But what happens when the conversation goes wrong? Maybe it moves too fast or you don't catch what your partner said. You need tools to fix that, right? To repair the conversation.
Oh, absolutely paramount. This is all about managing anxiety. Imagine your partner asks, what time do you usually have your walk? And maybe you missed the word walk because of pronunciation or speed. You can't just freeze.
Yeah.
You need immediate repair strategies. And we need to frame these phrases not as admitting you failed, but as tools for taking active control of the conversation.
Active interaction control.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, give us some examples. What are these copy-ready repair tools?
Well, the first level is just simple confirmation or asking for repetition. Pardon me. Or could you say that again, please?
Yeah.
Very common, very polite.
Okay.
The second level is asking them to adjust their speed. Could you please speak a little slower? This one is really important. It's a direct but polite command. It puts you in charge of the pace. That's empowering.
Yeah, definitely. And the third level?
That's about clarification. Trying to pinpoint the problem. Sorry, do you mean activity X? Or asking directly about a word. What does word Y mean? This lets you fix the specific issue without stopping the whole conversation.
That feels like a really fundamental shift in mindset. You're teaching the learner that they can manage the conversation's pace. They're not just passively receiving language. They're actively involved in making sure communication happens.
Exactly. That empowerment is vital. It prepares you for the messy reality of actual conversations. Fluency isn't just about speaking perfectly.
Right.
It's about being resilient, being able to fix a breakdown quickly and politely and keep the conversation moving.
We've really covered the whole blueprint now, haven't we? From learning actions in sequence, to structuring a dialogue, to fixing mechanics and handling communication breakdowns. Let's move to segment 5 for a final wrap-up and think about how this knowledge can be used long-term. Let's start by just listing those key action phrases one more time, cementing that core sequence.
Okay, the whole sequential spine of the routine we've built is wake up, get up, brush teeth, shower, get dressed, eat breakfast, go to work or study, have lunch, go home, watch TV or read, and finally go to bed. That's the basic narrative script you internalize.
And just remind us again of those 3 essential layers that turn that basic list into a proper textured conversation, the formula people should remember.
Right. The 3 layers are, first, the action itself, the core verb phrase like get up. Second, add frequency, the adverb, like usually. And third, add time, the context, like at 7 o'clock. So the formula is action plus frequency plus time. It's endlessly useful. It gives sentences that natural descriptive feel. I usually get up at 7 o'clock.
Perfect. Now, the core message that seems to come through all this teaching material is about confidence. That confidence leads to fluency, not the other way around,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning. Fluency means being clear and confident, not necessarily fast or complicated.
That is such a critical distinction. It is so much better to say, I go to work at 9, clearly, slowly, proudly, with good rhythm, than to rush through a complex sentence full of mistakes that just makes you feel unsure.
Yeah.
Clarity beats complexity every single time at this stage, because clarity helps the listener understand you and it helps you feel more confident.
Okay, now for that provocative thought we promised at the end. You, the learner, you now know how to talk about your current daily routine. How does mastering these phrases help you talk about the future or the past? How does this simple A1 level framework become the base for all future grammar?
This is where you see the real power of mastering the routine first.
Yeah.
Because those core vocabulary phrases, wake up, go to work, cook dinner, they are now stuck in your head. Anchored, memorized, easy to retrieve.
Right.
So all you need to do to talk about different times is just swap the tense marker. The main vocabulary stays the same.
Okay, so take the basic routine sentence. I usually wake up at 7. To talk about yesterday, you just need the past tense of wake. Yesterday, I woke up at 7.
Yeah.
The rest stays the same.
Exactly. The structure, the time phrase, the subject, it's stable. Or for the future, tomorrow, I will wake up at 7. You just add that small helper word, will, or you change the verb form slightly, like wake to woke. The routine vocabulary acts as the solid anchor. And you can build all the other tenses and timelines on top of that stable foundation. That's the real long-term benefit of nailing this routine vocabulary first. It gives you structural resilience for everything else you'll learn.
That really is the ultimate payoff, isn't it? For you listening, those simple sentences you're learning now, they aren't just for today. They're the fundamental blocks that will support much more complex language later on.
Yeah.
You're not just learning words, you're learning how the language fits together efficiently.
The architecture is sound. It's a great starting point.
So, for you listening right now, we really encourage you, put this into action immediately. Grab a pen or just think it through. Write down or say out loud 3 or 4 sentences describing your own routine. Use that structure we identified. Action plus adverb plus time. Start speaking your day, clearly, confidently.
Yeah, do it now. And remember, little by little, just by focusing on simple, repeatable conversations about you, your English is going to grow. You're already getting the hang of this blueprint for resilient conversation. Keep going. You really are doing great.